Three, two, one. Welcome to episode 180 of the Last Breath Huntcast. Before we do anything else, I just want to say thanks for tuning in. It's been a wild ride these last 6 months, and to the people that keep hitting that podcast button, the download button, the play button, man, I appreciate it. Means a lot to me, especially as I'm watching my numbers tick and climb on the download charts. It means quite a bit. You know, these are always start up these podcasts or these little side hustles, whatever you want to call them. They always start up as a midnight career. You know, it's an evening passion. It's not a full-time job by any stretch of the imagination, even though it feels like it. I guess it's a full-time job, but it damn sure doesn't pay the bills. So the fact that you guys enjoy the podcast, that you enjoy our content on YouTube and mess around with us on social media, it means a lot to me. So I just want to let you guys know, appreciate you being here and tuning in. Today, I'm going to give you a rundown of a coyote tournament I was just in this last weekend. It's the Mercer County Pasture Poodle contest, and kind of just go through how we did, my teammates, our setups, the calls we ran, etc. And this will kind of be the final Coyote podcast of the season. After this, I'm going to break into other topics that are going to be relevant, shed hunting, and then also starting to get into like some land management things, because that's really something I enjoy. It's something I've found that I really can excel the level of hunting I can produce on a property just by doing some small management things. And I'm going to get some guests in to talk about those. And then, of course, we got spring turkey season right around the corner. And I love all kinds of hunting. You know, if you follow my social media, if you follow Last Breaths on any of our social or YouTube, you see that, dude, it's a smattering of all kinds. But turkey season is definitely special, just because it's so action-packed, it's so vocal, and I am a very non-patient, impatient turkey hunter. I'm aggressive. I love reaping. I love changing my setups, finding those gobblers, rather than somebody like my father-in-law, who's got more patience than me and my wife combined. He kills them every year, but he sometimes does a little differently than I do. So anyway, let's get into this 180, covering the tournament that we had. But before that, you know the drill. Got to pay the bills. We're going to start off today and thank Dark Knight Outdoors. Jamie and Bill have been fantastic people to work with helping me in my thermal, I guess, venture, if you will. And they've really just become great people to reach out to, especially when it comes to gear tech tips. I think you're going to find that both of them are gear junkies. They're spec junkies. Like, they know the ins and outs of not just the thermal optics and scopes that they have, but a lot of the other products that complement them. So if you listen to the last podcast, you heard that I recently upgraded my tripod, and I'm glad I did. I have a bog pod. I actually have two bog pod death grips, and they're great, especially for like deer hunting, maybe even turkey hunting if you've got a kid, because there's a couple things. The bog will work with any firearm. It's a saddle mount, so that means it clamps to the sides of the gun, but it's kind of a little more cumbersome, loud, clunky, where my new tripod from Dark Knight Outdoors, I love the fact that the leveling base just is a quick connect right to the bottom of my gun. I like the fact that leveling head allows me to cant it to the left or the right to level out my gun when I'm on a setup, and it's lighter weight and a little bit more user-friendly. So Dark Knight Outdoors, if you're thinking about not just thermal equipment, but calls or other accessories for your firearms, I'd give those guys a call. Next is going to be Tompkins Taxidermy. These guys they're just salt of the earth men. And Wayne actually just got back from a hunt in Oklahoma. If you want to find out about that, I'd shoot him a message, but it sounds like he had a damn good time. And actually, 1 month from when this podcast is out, I'll be down in Texas with Wayne. We are leasing a 4-mile by 6-mile section in South Texas, where we'll get kind of free reign, if you will, of the place. We get to hunt javelinas, hogs, coyotes, bobcats, and catch rattlesnakes. That last one is going to be interesting, but we'll see what happens. Next is Moultrie Mobile. really enjoy working with those guys. Like I said, I've developed such a good relationship with them. I'm really excited about their new cameras and some other new products that's going to be launching later on in this season. You guys will want to hear about that. We're doing a image autopsy on turkey hunting for them. So if you've watched any of the multi-image autopsies that we've produced on deer, that is a miniature season that or a miniature series that kind of showcases how we've used trail cameras to target and kill the bucks that we have in the past. And so we're going to expand that into turkey season and really kind of focus on 3 types of ways that we use cameras, not specific turkeys that we killed, but keep an eye out for that this spring. That's coming down the pipeline. And last is Badlands. Now, I know there are multiple listeners here that have been asking me for the code. I, again, promise you that I'm working hard to get that. And if you want to help and you want to kind of expedite this process, let's light a little bit of a fire under Badlands' ass. If you're listening to this podcast and you want to earn that 30% code, I want to get it for you. I do. And there are multiple people. There's about 24 people that have messaged me for this. Do me a favor, call Badlands 1-800 number and say, can you please get Last Breath, their discount code, so I can utilize it, and shake some trees for me, or shoot them a message on social media. I know that they've been really busy coming off a show season, but that might help expedite things. And I just want you to know that I am working on that for you guys. And as soon as it comes, I will publish it in the Last Breath Inner Circle, which is a Facebook group that's designed for you guys to find out first. All right, so let's talk about this coyote tournament. So for starters, I'd hunted in several other tournaments in the past, but they've been mostly daytime tournaments. You got to remember, I didn't start thermal hunting until last year when my friends from out west kind of betrothed me into doing this nighttime hunting thing. And man, it took to it like a pig to mud. But Wayne and I have been hunting quite a bit. Wayne picked up a thermal as well, and we've been doing really pretty successful in the evenings, and we've been pleasure hunting. When the nights are going really well, we'll stay out very late and keep hunting and killing coyotes. And when the nights seem to be a little soft or stagnant, we'll just go home and lick our wounds and go at it another time. So really weren't planning on doing a tournament. And I say that because I know that there's definitely strategy involved to these tournaments. And one of those is obviously not killing the coyotes on your farms before it, or at least not killing a lot of them like we have. But regardless, earlier last week, Austin Myers reached out to me and said, hey, I'd like to do this tournament. If you're interested, let's get a team together. And so to let you know who the team was, it was myself, Wayne Tompkins, and Austin Meyer. And I know Austin from just my hometown back in Knoxville. And I'm great friends with Clark Cummings, who is just an awesome hunter. I'm telling you right now, probably one of the best deer hunters that I know. But anyway, Austin is Clark's son-in-law. And so Austin and I have talked quite a bit. We text through deer season and other things. And I said, sure, let me see if Wayne's interested, and we'll have a go of it. And so after a short discussion, we're like, heck, what are we out? It was $50 a person to sign up. So you do have a little coin out of pocket. But we were planning on coyote hunting anyway this weekend, and so we decided, well, let's see what we can do. So Austin, Wayne, and I, the coyote tournament started on Friday at 6:00 p.m. Wayne actually registered us. Austin had to work. He works at the railroad, and he had to finish up his shift. And I had made dinner plans with some great friends of mine, Jeremy and Stephanie Sides, the owners of Eclipse Gunworks. They're great friends, and I'm great customers of theirs. But we actually went to RC Brazilian Steakhouse. We'd got reservations, and I'm like, I'm sorry guys, I can't miss this dinner, but we'll link up afterwards. So due to that fact, Austin decided to hunt his home properties down around Knoxville, and Wayne and I went over into Iowa and hunted. So we were apart for the better part of that first evening. And if you remember, Thursday of last week, we got a great little cold spell that came through. So it was really nice on Friday, in a sense that all the fields were frozen, the ground were frozen, and over in Iowa where Wayne and I were hunting, there was about 5 to 6, in some places like 7 inches of nice fluffy white powdered snow. And we were licking our chops because early in the season, if you get a nice snow covering like that, it's not too deep for the coyotes to trudge through, but it's enough to really kind of probably get them to thinking with their belly. It's turned into some fantastic hunting. And I'll just tell you, Wayne and I were on the struggle bus. Goodness. Austin was able to get some coyotes down on Friday evening, and Wayne and I had our worst ever night of hunting on Friday evening. We started off, we called the first place that we went to, and sure enough, we called in a coyote, but he came completely opposite of where we were hunting. So we came up to this big draw and overlooking, hundreds of acres of bottom, and we're like, man, this looks great. We'd never called that place before. We had high hopes, and behind us was maybe a 12-acre field, and there was a very brussy French furrow that we were kind of standing in. It was very dark this weekend, so we really didn't need to, but we just wanted to stand that far back, more or less for the wind, because we had a crosswind. It wasn't a wind straight in our face. So we're calling a little bit, and I'm running my scanner, and I turn around, just checking 360, and sure enough, there's a lone coyote, probably 50 or 60 yards behind us, in that field, and we, what do you do? Like, he probably knew something was up. I told Wayne. Wayne spun around, and he did take a shot, and Wayne's a good shot. I'm confident in him being able to kill a coyote at 50 yards, but it had multiflora rows, some vines in it. There was saplings and other trees. I mean, the fence row was probably about 10 yards wide, and yeah, you could see him. And I even said, Wayne's like, should I shoot? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, what are we out, right? You either shoot or you let him eventually booger off. And so he shot and didn't connect, and I just think he hit some brush in between him. So we started off the night with a bust, and then that was the MO for the rest of our evening. We covered spot after spot after spot, and we were trying to turn and burn. And in fact, that first night we hunted in 17 different spots, and that was really about the only coyote that we called in. In fact, the rest of the evening after that, we didn't see anything else. And so frustrated to all end, we ended that night. Now, on that caveat, I will tell you, like the guys that work the graveyard shift, if you are a person that works swing shifts, works third shift, has to work nights, you are a different breed of human. I am very scheduled. Usually I wake up at about 3:28 in the morning, get ready, go to the gym. I'm usually the first person at the gym. Then I go and get gas at Sam's Club, which opens up at 6:30. And then I go to the car wash, and I'm usually the first person at the car wash. I'm no problem getting up early, but I cannot stay up late. So like about 3 o'clock on Friday, I'd been up for almost 24 hours. And I'm like, dude, Wayne, I am struggling. And I was drinking energy drinks, and we had snacks and everything else. But like, we didn't get home. I didn't get home until about 5:30 on Saturday morning and went to bed. And of course, like, I was tired and went to sleep right away, but you wake up earlier than really what you probably need to. So about 9:30, 10 o'clock, I woke up. Of course, the room's all bright, and I couldn't fall back asleep. And I tried to do some napping on Saturday, and it just didn't work out. So I went into Saturday evening already like struggling. And actually on Saturday afternoon, I went out and did a couple day sets to try to just maximize what we could do. And I couldn't beg in a coyote to save my ass. So Saturday rolls around, and Austin, Wayne, and I linked up. We went down to Henderson County, South Mercer County and Henderson County, where we both have a lot of ground to call. And it was the same MO. We really kind of struggled. We ended up calling two different coyotes in, and those were the two coyotes that we had killed. And later on, or I should say early in the morning, we did have an opportunity at one that I hit it, and I don't know how we didn't recover it. Both I shot it and Austin hit it, and this coyote ran. I mean, it was we still are dumbfounded how it made it, but they're tough, man. So we did lose that coyote, and that was kind of the seal of the deal, because Saturday morning, or I guess it would have been Sunday morning, I got home at like 6:20ish, and I bet Wayne got home at like 7. And so that was a long haul. And getting into that, like, I think tournaments are a lot of fun, and they can be, but that's the difference between like tournament hunting and pleasure hunting. because when you're pleasure hunting, if it's going great, yeah, you keep hunting, right? You're calling in dogs and you're killing dogs, like fantastic. You're going to stay out. But when the hunting sucks, you're like, well, you know, it's not happening tonight. Let's hit it next weekend, right? And you pack up and you go home. But when you're tournament hunting, it's like you can't. You know, what do? You don't just stop because it could turn on at any second, right? Um, but anyway, in a nutshell, we took in 6 dogs to the tournament, which was about par for most of the teams. The winning team had 28 coyotes, which is crazy, almost unbelievable, really, considering the second place I think had 15 coyotes, and then third place had 10. So the guys that won it, man, they got something figured out, I suppose, because that's a hell of a spread. Um, and I think they won big dog as well, and maybe even small dog. I'm not certain. So anyway, let's get into like the setups that we were running, just so you can know the difference between everyone. So I was running my 224 Valkyrie AR-15. It's a gun I built, and I've been really happy with it. And in fact, I told Austin and Wayne that that coyote that we both hit, that was the first coyote that I've shot with that gun and that bullet that I load that I didn't recover. So kind of a really black mark to end that day. But other than that, it's been fantastic. I've got an 18-inch BSF carbon fiber barrel on it, and I'm hand loading 75 grain boat tail match points. They're Hornady bullets. I use Starline brass, and I'm using CFE 223 powder. And the gun shoots really well. And up until that one that we got that had gotten away, it's been really hard on coyotes. And so on top of it, I've got a Pard SA62, which is a 640 scope. I've been really happy with it so far. It does have a laser rangefinder. I will say that is probably the least impressed I've been with the scope as far as it goes. It will range, and it does a good job. Like I've cross-referenced it with other guys that have been out in the field, and it's accurate. It just seems to take a little bit longer to pick up. Where like guys that I know have like a Halo XRF, or that have an iRay with a rangefinder, or a Pulsar with a rangefinder, it seems like they're getting their readings back, really snappy quite a bit. But other than that, it's got a lot of great features on it. It looks really clear, and it records great video and audio, and I've been really happy with it. So that's my setup. I'm also running a Pard scanner that's a 384, and it's a TS25 is the model. And I'm telling you what, if you thermal hunt and you don't have a scanner, what a game changer it is, just on comfort and ease of use and being able to see the coyotes, etc. Moving on to Wayne. Wayne has a 243 that he's shooting. Sorry, had to take a drink of water there. He's shooting a Bagheera 243, and we actually did some reloading on that. And he's shooting a 55 grain Blitz King bullet, and that thing is a hot rod, man. He's just under 4,000 feet a second out of that bolt gun, and it's shooting lights out. And on top of it, he's got a Bearing Super Yoder that he's running, and he's been really happy with it. And I can say that one thing that I've noticed about his Super Yoder is it's very easy to use. It's got 3 buttons on top. So for a guy like Wayne that really doesn't care about recording the videos or diving into like a ballistics calculator or anything like that, he turns it on, he knows how to zoom and turn it off, and it works. Like the end, it's bulletproof, and he's been really happy with that. Austin is running a Savage. I don't know the model of it, but it looks mean as all hell. 6.5 Creedmoor bolt action gun, and he's got, I believe, an XG50 Pro scope on it. So it's the tubular kind, and he has the laser rangefinder. And he also has the Pard TS25 scanner. And I believe Austin was shooting the 123 grain Hornady Super Performance or Hornady VMAX bullets. And I can tell you this much, that the Creedmoor just slapped coyotes. But I will say this, man, when he was letting them off, that thing barks. It's quite a bit louder than my 224, and even louder than Wayne's 243. But it's just hard on coyotes. I mean, it's a 120 grain bullet, and yeah, it's not a fur saver, but they definitely didn't run very far when he was hitting them. So those were our setups. Austin and I are running similar tripods. Both have leveling heads, and then Wayne is running a bog pod for his field stability. So, getting into the calls that we were using, we really never found something that was just going dynamite. And now a lot of guys struggled this weekend. That was, I guess, relieving. Not that we wish malintent on anybody else, but it was nice to know that other people were struggling and not just us. It seems to be peak breeding season here in this region of the Midwest for coyotes, and we noticed that some groups weren't being responsive at all, and sometimes, like I said, we'd go to places and not even see coyotes or hear them. But when we had success, it seemed like that vocalizations were king, and we would typically open up a set with either female invitation, or we would open up a set with a very light distress. And in fact, we talked about it going in. We're like, okay, just so we don't scare any coyotes away, like if it's a submissive coyote or a younger coyote, maybe a coyote that just had his ass kicked, we're going to start every set with a light cottontail, light woodpecker, light vole, distress. And then we're going to pick that up a little bit to make sure that there's nothing in the area that's looking for a meal. Then we would go into like some female invitational howls and let those stew for a second. Then it was a 50-50, I'd say. We'd maybe hit a lone male howl just once or twice to maybe be answering back that female. Or we would actually wait a couple minutes after that female invitational and go to some female whimpers. And the males that we had called in, which we called in some really big aggressive single males, was on those vocalizations. And in fact, if I remember right, we didn't have any coyotes come into any type of whimpering, any type of pup distress, any type of like coyote fight noises, which is kind of weird because, when we do these long pulls, we're almost certain to at least have some type of response to those whimpering, those fight calls, those distress calls, coyote distress calls. And we just didn't seem to have that happen. I guess looking back at the hunting, I think if there was a thing that I could have done differently, we knew that we needed to cover a lot of ground, so we were trying to be really aggressive with our sequences and get in and get out. I think, and maybe it's just a style of coyote hunting that I do. I mean, I wouldn't have minded to be able to, if I could go back, maybe stay at some of those spots a little longer, because we did call several areas that had never been called yet that year, and that just looked super good. And we had a bulletproof setup, and we didn't see any coyotes. And instead of giving it, that 15 to 17 minute mark, I would have liked to see us maybe try that 25-minute mark and just see if we could have ended up pulling something out of there. Because, man, some of the places that we were walking out and leaving, I was scratching my head going, I cannot believe that we didn't even see a coyote. It's, like I said, it's one thing to miss. I'll carry that burden and say, I botched the shot, I missed, I whiffed or whatever. But like to just not even have coyotes come in when some of these places they were just great. They looked too good almost. I don't know. That's the only thing that I think maybe we should have done different, possibly, is maybe stretch them out at those areas that we knew hadn't been called, that we knew had coyotes, and that, we knew we had a good setup. Like we didn't bump anything coming in. We were able to scan it on the way in, and we were quiet, and we had the wind in our favor. All those things stacking up. I wonder if we would have elongated those sits if we would have had anything produce or not. Couple of things that I found out that would be interesting is there was somebody that did misidentify in a tournament, and they did end up shooting a deer on accident. I believe, if I heard correctly, that those guys did turn themselves into the DNR, and I'm not sure whatever happened with that, but that's a tough one. If you've never looked through a thermal, there's an art to it. Even the really nice ones, when you're looking at stuff that's further away, or especially something that's like through brush or through grass, it definitely reduces the image quality. And you gotta kind of learn how to read mannerisms more so than like how it looks. Because a lot of the videos that you see online or that are floating around, like the people are dumping these coyotes, they're probably pretty close. And the definition is fantastic when they're sub 150 yards. But really that trouble area for me is like that 400 yards when they're not standing or they're not moving. Because you can really tell what an animal is just by, like I said, the mannerisms of how they walk or how they run, how their head picks up and puts down, stuff like that, further away. And obviously, the better optic you have, the better ability that you do to identify things. Because like last night, we were identifying deer at, I don't know, 1,000 yards at least. But obviously, that's a lot easier to do because you can see them in a field. They're grouped up together. Deer is a lot bigger than a coyote, etc. But anyway, I mean, that was a mishap that happened. I don't think anything was done on purpose, and like I said, I'm proud of those guys for doing the right thing and stepping up, and I hope that it works out in their favor. You know, again, it was totally an accident, from what I had heard, and I hope that they don't get anything extreme done to them. But I suppose, you know, it is what it is, and it's up to the officers to make that decision. Coming into some other highlights here, we still have not got Wayne a kill with those 55 grain Blitz Kings, so I don't know if that's really a highlight, more of like a bad mark, but we're going to try to do that. Trapping season's officially over here in Illinois, so that's a little bit of a bummer. And I do believe that if you guys are Illinois turkey hunters, our lotteries, I know that they're up. So Illinois over-the-counter turkey permits, I'm looking it up right now. I'm going to tell you guys when that is. Turkey permits for 2023. They go available on March 14th. So if you weren't able to get a turkey permit in this lottery system, or if you wanted to grab your third one or an extra one, I'd be marking that in your calendars. It's going to be March 14th. So, but other than that, I feel like I've been copping out on you guys with a couple of short podcasts here lately. I've been busy, and with this tournament right here, it kind of had to push back one of the guests that I was going to have on to talk about shed hunting. So I got some stuff lined up. We're going to get some other ones recorded and knocked out. But like I said in the beginning of the podcast, really do appreciate you guys sticking here and riding it out. We got some great stuff coming up in the works. And if you have any other ideas, like I did a freaking awesome one with Evan from EVR Outdoors on processing deer. If you guys have any ideas and you want to be a guest of the show, send me a message or send Last Breath a message, and we'll get you on, and we'll talk about anything. And I think we're overdue for a controversy. So if you got something that's a little edgy, a little controversial that you want to talk about, maybe you want to vent about, hit me up. And then also, like I said, if you stuck around and you want to get that Badlands code, maybe help poke the tiger a little bit. And if you can shoot them a message and shake some trees, that'd help. I promise you I'm doing stuff on my end. But until then, there'll be another hot one coming for you next Monday. I've got a guest on talking about shed hunting. It's going to be good. And I will talk to you guys then. Thanks for listening. As always, don't waste it.